Let's begin. My hands trembled uncontrollably as I stared at the glowing screen of my smartphone. Surprise, sweetheart. I'm back early. Reservation at Ambrosia tonight, 7:00 p.m. sharp. Happy 5th anniversary. The words were meant to comfort, but all they brought was anxiety. The sudden, unexpected return of my husband, Julian, only amplified the unease that had plagued my heart ever since he left for his so-called business trip. Anniversaries are supposed to feel special. They're meant to bring back a flood of beautiful memories. Tender moments shared over camel-lit dinners, soft laughter under moonlight, whispered promises sealed with lingering kisses. Yet today, the weight of dread pressed heavily on my chest, suffocating the joy I was supposed to feel. My marriage to Gabriel had begun as a fairy tale. But somewhere along the way, that tale had twisted into something unrecognizably dark. The echo of Gabriel's voice faded from my mind as I stood from the edge of our bed, feeling suddenly cold despite the warmth of the midday sun filtering through the windows. Glancing briefly at the wall clock, panic rose within me. There wasn't much time left. As I moved towards the bathroom, my reflection caught my eye in the mirror, showing a woman I hardly recognized anymore. Tired eyes, dark hair falling messily across my shoulders, lips pressed together in a thin line of uncertainty. Stepping into the steaming shower, I closed my eyes, allowing the water to cascade over me, desperate to wash away the guilt that clung stubbornly to my skin. But the memories refused to disappear, staining me with shame. The voice echoed clearly through my mind. Liam's deep laughter, his warm breath on my neck, the mischievous sparkle in his eyes as he whispered promises he'd never intended to keep. Liam, even thinking his name, sent a sharp pain through my heart. The affair had started innocently enough. An office friendship that blossomed during late nights working side by side. Gabriel's frequent absences made the loneliness grow unbearable. And Liam was there always ready with a warm smile, a comforting word, or a joke to lighten the tension. One night, as we worked late on a project deadline, the tension had broken in a kiss I never planned but secretly longed for. From there, the descent was rapid. The line between friendship and passion blurring until it vanished entirely, but was never supposed to be serious. It was never meant to replace Gabriel, the man who had swept me off my feet years ago. Yet the reality was inescapable now as the hot water cascaded over me. I desperately tried to scrub away every trace of my infidelity, but guilt clung to my skin, impossible to erase. I had set strict rules for myself at the beginning. I would never let Gabriel suspect. I had sworn to never disrespect him openly, promising myself to compartmentalize my dual lives, keeping them separate. But reality had shattered those naive promises one by one. Each moment with Liam eroded my resolve, each stolen kiss drawing me deeper into a web I couldn't untangle. Tonight, however, was our anniversary dinner. And despite everything, Gabriel deserved better than this. I resolved that tonight I'd give him my full attention, my loyalty. It was the least I owed him. After towing off, I carefully chose a sleek, elegant emerald dress from my closet. The silky fabric hugged my curves perfectly, reminding me of the happier times we'd shared. My fingers lingered over the diamond necklace Gabriel gifted me on our first anniversary. A sparkling promise of a love that once felt eternal. With a sigh, I fastened it around my neck, the cool metal settling against my skin, heavy with symbolism. Just as I applied the finishing touches to my makeup, my phone buzzed. I picked it up quickly, my pulse racing at the thought of another message from Gabriel. But it wasn't Gabriel, it was Liam. Thinking about you. Tonight's going to feel lonely without you. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. I stare at the message, guilt gnawing at my insides. This had to stop. My fingers hovered over the screen, hesitating before finally typing a brief reply. Not tonight, Liam. I'll talk to you tomorrow at the office. With that, I slipped the phone into my purse and left our apartment. The cool evening breeze hitting my face as I walked briskly towards Ambrosia, our favorite restaurant. My heart fluttered nervously in my chest as I spotted Gabriel waiting by the entrance. He looked strikingly handsome in his tailored suit, dark eyes softening as he smiled warmly, arms outstretched, but something behind his eyes seemed guarded, distant. "Happy anniversary," he said softly, leaning in to kiss me gently on the cheek. Yet, the embrace was stiff, lacking the passion we'd once shared. We walked into the elegant dining room, and I immediately sensed an invisible wall between us. Gabriel had always been a master at masking his feelings, but tonight, the quiet tension in his expression was palpable. As the waitress led us to our table, I attempted small talk, trying to break through the coldness enveloping us. "Your trip was cut short," I asked gently, offering a hesitant smile. Gabriel nodded slightly, his gaze distant. "Yes, business concluded faster than expected. Something fell off, but I brushed it aside, choosing instead to immerse myself in the lavish dinner he planned." Ambrosia was a stunning venue bathed in soft golden lighting with rich aromas wafting through the air. It had always been our sanctuary, the place where we'd celebrated countless milestones, laughter ringing out between glasses of wine and decadent meals. Tonight, however, felt different. Everything felt hollow. "5 years," Gabriel said, breaking the silence abruptly, swirling the deep red wine in his glass thoughtfully. "Funny how quickly things change." The coldness in his voice made my blood run cold. "Gabe," I began, but his piercing eyes silenced me. He reached into his coat pocket, slowly withdrawing an envelope. My heartbeat quickened, unease settling deep within me. "I've been thinking about us," Gabriel began, his voice calm, but layered with unmistakable tension. "About the promises we made to each other, the life we dreamed of building together." I nodded cautiously, barely breathing, unsure of where this was going. He looked at me directly then, and for the first time tonight, I saw genuine pain flicker behind his eyes. He reached into his pocket, pulling out several photographs and placing them deliberately onto the table, facing me. My breath caught sharply as my eyes registered the images. Pictures of Liam and me, moments captured when we thought we were safe. The realization crashed over me, leaving me speechless. "Gabriel," he raised his hand, cutting me off. "Don't. I hired someone. Private investigator. It wasn't hard. You've gotten careless, Alexis." His voice was cold, devoid of the warmth I'd fallen in love with years ago. It stung more than any harsh words could. The betrayal, fully exposed, lay bare between us. "I trusted you," Gabriel continued, his voice shaking slightly now, anger surfacing beneath his composed facade. "I gave you everything, Alexis. Everything I had, everything I could possibly offer." My voice trembled as tears welled up. "I'm sorry, Gabriel. It was never supposed to get this far, but it did." His eyes pierced through mine, his pain evident beneath the icy exterior. "You made choices and those choices destroyed everything we built. Now it's your turn to face the consequences." He reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a thick envelope, sliding it across the table toward me. "Divorce papers," he said bluntly. "It's over." My chest constricted painfully. Everything was unraveling faster than I'd ever anticipated. My vision blurred as tears spilled down my cheeks. "Sign them, Alexis. It's over." I stared down at the papers, each word blurring as the world around me dissolved in a chaos. Gabriel sat motionless, his eyes fixed firmly on me, awaiting my surrender. But beneath his quiet, controlled exterior, I sensed something else. A silent fury, a simmering rage waiting patiently to erupt. Gabriel was a proud man. One who had been betrayed in the cruelest way possible. And as I reached for the pen, feeling the cold weight of finality settle in, I knew with terrifying certainty that his revenge was only beginning. In that moment, my entire world fractured, splintering into irreparable fragments. I felt exposed, stripped bare before Gabriel's piercing stare. The elegant restaurant seemed to fade away, replaced by deafening silence. All that remained clear were Gabriel's cold, unyielding eyes and the stark clinical whiteness of the divorce papers lying between us. Yet, as I signed, a strange sense of relief mingled with grief. It was done, but what followed now? I was trapped between remorse and a shameful acknowledgement that I had brought this devastation upon myself. My hands shook, but I forced myself to grip the pen, scribbling my name, Alexis Hamilton, across the document that declared the end of a marriage that had once been my greatest joy. Gabriel took the papers calmly, his expression unreadable. Yet, I could sense a storm raging beneath his facade. Without another word, he signaled the server, paid the bill swiftly, and stood up. "Have a nice life, Alexis," he said quietly, dropping his napkin with finality before exiting, leaving me alone in a crushing silence. Each step he took away felt like a dagger twisting deeper into my heart. Minutes turned into hours as I sat there, numb, frozen in place as the reality sank deeper. My phone vibrated again. Liam, undoubtedly sensing my distress, but I ignored him. For the first time, the allure of his comfort meant nothing. Liam had been a temporary escape from loneliness. But he was never the man Gabriel had been. Now, as the bitter truth lay exposed, I knew I'd sacrificed a lifetime of love for fleeting moments of thrill. Days turned into nights, and nights into agonizing weeks. My life, once carefully curated and orderly, spiraled into chaos. The absence of Gabriel left a hollow ache within me, an emptiness Liam's fleeting embraces could never fill. Every routine felt meaningless. Morning coffee turned bitter, my office tasks mundane. Even Jacob, my innocent child, caught in this disastrous whirlwind. Since my despair, his innocent eyes constantly searching for answers I couldn't provide. My affair with Liam, once exciting, now felt toxic and suffocating. Yet he was relentless, pushing for deeper commitment, whispering seductive promises that held no warmth. Each night I spent alone in my apartment, haunted by memories of Gabriel's betrayal-filled eyes, the silent accusation of his pain. How could I have thrown away genuine love for something so shallow? So empty? Days passed painfully slow. Liam's insistence grew more demanding. He wanted more to replace Gabriel entirely. But I resisted. Something deep inside still belonged to Gabriel, tied irreversibly by the years we had spent together. Every shared memory now tormented me. Romantic weekends at lakeside cabins. Whispered dreams about growing old together. Yet now it all felt like distant fantasies I could never reclaim. One evening after another draining day at work, I returned home to find an envelope waiting on my doorstep. My fingers trembled as I opened it, my breath hitching at the sight of photos, unmistakably candid and explicit of me and Liam. Attached was a handwritten note, each word etched sharply in Gabriel's unmistakable handwriting. "I trusted you. You threw it all away. Now watch closely, Alexis. This is only the beginning." The threat hidden in those words chilled me to the bone. I scanned the street, heart hammering wildly, sensing Gabriel's presence everywhere, though he was nowhere in sight. Every shadow felt sinister, every face suspicious. Gabriel had always been methodical, calculating his actions. And now that skill terrified me. He wouldn't simply disappear quietly into the night. He was meticulous, determined, and always got exactly what he wanted. Panicking, I tried reaching Gabriel, desperate for a chance to explain, beg, plead, anything. But my calls went straight to voicemail, my messages unanswered. He had vanished from my world, becoming a ghost whose haunting presence lingered ominously, controlling my every waking moment. Meanwhile, Liam grew resentful, his affection turning cold when I refused his demand to move in. He accused me of holding back, of still loving Gabriel. Our once playful encounters became bitter confrontations. The illusion shattered entirely, revealing the selfish man beneath, someone who saw me only as a conquest, an achievement. I realized bitterly that Liam had never truly cared about me. I was just another trophy to stroke his ego. Weeks stretched on and my life became a routine of despair. Work felt suffocating. Home became unbearable. My nights were sleepless, consumed by regret and longing for the life I destroyed. Yet, as the shadows deepened, so did a spark within me, a burning determination that Gabriel's ominous note had ignited. If he intended revenge, I couldn't allow myself to be passive. I needed answers. I needed closure. If Gabriel was plotting something, I had to protect myself and my child. Driven by a mix of paranoia and survival instinct, I hired my own investigator. I needed to understand Gabriel's plans, his next move. But the detective found nothing unusual. No secret bank transfers, no clandestine meetings. Gabriel's life seemed painfully ordinary. And yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister was brewing beneath his composed exterior. Just when despair nearly consumed me, an unexpected phone call disrupted my monotonous existence. It was Amelia, Gabriel's sister, someone I'd always considered a friend. Alexis, her voice was hesitant, gentle yet strained. Gabriel hasn't been himself. He's withdrawn and angry. He won't talk to anyone. You hurt him deeply. I know, I whispered, my voice cracking under guilt. I never meant to. I made a terrible mistake. Then fix it, Amelia urged firmly. Before it's too late. He's planning something. I can feel it. Amelia's warning shook me. Gabriel had always been decisive, controlled, relentless once crossed. But revenge seems so unlike him. Yet again, I'd underestimated him, just as he'd underestimated my capacity to betray him. Overwhelmed, I tried one final desperate plea. I showed up at Gabriel's workplace, catching him off guard. His expression hardened instantly, eyes see. Alexis, you shouldn't be here, he said, voice tight with restraint. Please, Gabriel, just listen. Listen to what? He snapped sharply, his calm veneer shattering. More lies. You had countless opportunities to choose us. To choose me. You chose him. I chose wrong. I whispered, tears streaming down my face. I want you back. I want our life back. Gabriel laughed bitterly, shaking his head. You don't get it, Alexis. There is no us anymore. You betrayed everything we had. Now it's my turn. His words terrified me, not just because of their venom, but because of the deep wound I saw reflected in his gaze. Gabriel was no longer the loving husband I had known. Betrayal had transformed him into something colder, darker. Days after our confrontation, Liam called again, oblivious to the storm unfolding. Let's start over, Alexis, he urged. Desperation creeping into his voice. Gabriel's gone now. You're finally free. I finally snapped, anger overwhelming me. Don't you understand, Liam? You were never the answer. You were just the symptom of my broken marriage. I lost everything because of you. You're blaming me? He scoffed incredulously. You wanted this as much as I did. But I hung up. Done with him and his excuses. Liam had been a poison I willingly consumed. And now it was time to detox from both men. But Gabriel's ominous warning lingered. What revenge was he plotting? What had my betrayal unleashed? My answer came sooner than expected. Days later, while picking Jacob up from daycare, a delivery man approached, handing me a sealed envelope. Inside was a photo of Liam, beaten, bloodied, and helpless. Attached was another note, cryptic yet chillingly clear. One down. Sleep well, Alexis. The photo slipped from my trembling fingers onto the cold floor. Gabriel had warned me. His revenge had begun, ruthless and methodical, and now I was next. The photograph haunted my dreams. Liam's battered face a haunting reminder of Gabriel's unspoken threat. I thought betrayal would be easy to hide. A momentary escape hidden behind closed doors and whispered promises. But now, as Liam lay hospitalized and broken, I understood that my sins had consequences far darker than I'd imagined. Sleep became a distant luxury. Every creak in my apartment startled me awake. Days blurred into endless stretches of paranoia. I kept expecting Gabriel to appear my doorstep, eyes blazing with retribution. But the waiting game he played was far more cruel. His absence, deliberate and calculated, was slowly unraveling me, turning each passing second into psychological torture. In the aftermath, my life routines became tainted with anxiety. Each morning, I would rise earlier than necessary, gulp down bitter coffee, and rush to the daycare to drop Jacob off before escaping into the sanctuary of my office. But even there, where my affair had begun, I couldn't find relief. Whispers and sideways glances haunted me. Rumors had spread quickly about my failing marriage. Liam, disgraced and fired due to Gabriel's anonymous tips, was nowhere to be found. Without him, I had become an outcast, friendless, and pitted, or worse, despised by colleagues who once smiled and joked with me. I longed for simpler times, aching for the routine I'd foolishly despised. I remembered lazy Sunday mornings in bed with Gabriel, soft sunlight streaming through curtains while our laughter filled the silence. Back then, his arms felt like home, a sanctuary I thought I would never betray. How had I drifted so far? Determined to regain some semblance of control, I focused on little Jacob, my innocent son, trapped amidst my mistakes. His bright, trusting eyes were my last source of solace. I held him tighter each night, whispering promises I wasn't sure I could keep. "Mommy's going to fix this," I murmured softly, rocking him gently to sleep. "We'll be all right, baby. I promise." Yet, the nagging voice of guilt reminded me daily that Jacob wasn't Gabriel's child. A truth Gabriel had confirmed through DNA tests, and a betrayal deeper than the affair itself. Jacob was Liam's son, something Gabriel had discovered and documented meticulously, though he'd never confronted me openly about it. The silent contempt of that discovery had poisoned our marriage more thoroughly than my affair ever could have. Meanwhile, Gabriel had become a shadow. My investigator reported vague sightings. Gabriel dining alone at places we'd once frequented, buying lavish gifts meant for no one. Traveling extensively, yet never leaving the city. His meticulous secrecy terrified me. Whatever he was planning, it was beyond my grasp. An invisible threat lurking in plain sight. One evening, feeling suffocated by isolation, I found myself wandering the streets aimlessly, Jacob sleeping soundly in my mother's house. My steps took me subconsciously toward the luxurious condo where Liam and I had spent countless nights. Standing before that tall building, its glass facade gleaming coldly beneath the city lights, an ache gripped my chest. A pang of longing mixed bitterly with resentment. This place, once my refuge, now represented all I had lost. Alexis. My heart stopped. I turned abruptly to see Liam emerging from the shadows, looking disheveled, pale, and defeated. A ghost of the confident man I'd known. "You shouldn't be here," I warned, glancing nervously over my shoulder. "Neither should you." Liam's voice was rough, strained from exhaustion. "Gabriel's been watching. He's ruined my career, frozen my accounts. I'm losing everything. I told you," I whispered bitterly. "Gabriel never forgives." Liam shook his head, desperation etched into his features. "You have to help me. He's obsessed. He won't stop until he destroys us both." I stared at him incredulously. "What do you want me to do?" "Gabriel isn't listening to reason. He wants revenge. Liam, he's changed." Liam stepped closer, his eyes pleading. "Then let's leave." "You mean Jacob? Let's just disappear. We can start over somewhere far away, beyond his reach." The temptation lingered, seductive yet hollow. A life with Liam. The thought repulsed me now. He represented all my failures, my weaknesses, the destructive choices I'd willingly made. I shook my head slowly. "No, I can't. I've already lost too much. And frankly, Liam, I blame you for that as much as myself." His eyes hardened, anger flashing behind his gaze. "You blame me? You're the one who chose to cheat. I never forced you on your choices, Alexis." The words stung bitterly, but they were true. I stepped back, breaking away from his grasp. "Goodbye, Liam. Don't contact me again." He called after me, desperation seeping into his voice, but I ignored him, walking briskly away until his pleas faded into the noise of the bustling city. I'd chosen Liam once, and it cost me everything. My marriage, security, even my self-respect. Now I had to reclaim my life piece by piece. The next few weeks were filled with attempts at normalcy. But Gabriel's calculated silence tormented me. Occasionally anonymous envelopes appeared on my doorstep containing photographs, snapshots of my daily routines, visits to the coffee shop, meetings with my lawyer. Gabriel wanted me to know he was watching, that he controlled my world now, manipulating every aspect from the shadows. The anxiety was paralyzing and my paranoia grew each passing day. Then came the phone call that shattered whatever fragile peace remained. It was Amelia again, Gabriel's sister. Her voice trembled, urgent, and filled with fear. "Alexis, Gabriel's move, Jacob's custody hearing forward. He's taking Jacob from you." My heart seized painfully, panic gripping me as her words sank in. "What? He can't do that. I'm Jacob's mother. You don't understand," Amelia whispered urgently. "Gabriel has evidence. Proof of the affair. Proof Jacob isn't his. He plans to take everything from you. He wants you broken." I dropped the phone, dread coursing through me. My breathing grew shallow, each gasp painful. Losing Gabriel had hurt, but losing Jacob was unbearable. A loss that would shatter my soul. It was one thing for Gabriel to punish me, but to tear away my child, it was merciless. Fueled by fear and desperation, I raced to Gabriel's downtown office, bursting through the elegant glass doors. His secretary tried to stop me, but I shoved past her, storming directly into his expansive corner office. Gabriel looked up from his desk, startled, then quickly composed himself, eyes narrowing dangerously. "You can't take Jacob from me," I screamed, unable to contain the fear trembling in my voice. "Please, Gabriel, Jacob needs me. Don't punish him for my mistakes." Gabriel stood slowly, his powerful presence filling the room, intimidating and imposing. "Jacob isn't mine," he replied icily, voice filled with barely restrained anger. "You lied to me, Alexis. You betrayed me in ways you can't begin to understand. I know what I did." I sobbed, unable to contain the anguish bursting forth. "But Jacob is innocent. Punish me, not him. Please, Gabriel." He leaned forward, voice dangerously low, each word dripping with venom. "You punished yourself when you chose Liam. You chose pleasure over loyalty, deceit over love. Everything happening now is your doing, not mine." I fell to my knees, humiliation crashing over me. "Please, Gabriel, I'll do anything." He stood abruptly, towering over me. "You had your chance. You destroyed our family without hesitation. Now it's my turn to return the favor. Get out." His cold dismissal shattered my remaining hope. Leaving his office, I felt utterly broken. The ache inside unbearable, yet beneath the despair, a spark ignited a defiant resolve. Gabriel intended to destroy me, but I wouldn't surrender easily. If he wanted a war, then I would fight for Jacob with every ounce of strength left in me. As I exited the building, determination surged through me. Gabriel had underestimated me once. He wouldn't get the chance again. He turned my betrayal into a twisted game of revenge. But he forgot one critical truth. The same woman capable of destroying a marriage could fight relentlessly to protect her child. No longer would I sit passive, waiting in fear. It was time to strike back. Not as a cheating wife seeking forgiveness, but as a mother prepared to battle ruthlessly to reclaim her life. Gabriel thought he'd cornered me. But he'd soon realized that revenge was not as alone to wield. The woman he'd loved, the woman he'd betrayed, would rise from the ashes stronger, fiercer, and infinitely more dangerous than he'd ever imagined. My war had just begun, and Gabriel would pay dearly for daring to threaten my child. Determined to fight for my son, I turned my pain into purpose, devoting every waking moment to building my case. Gabriel had weaponized my affair against me, using the power he wielded ruthlessly, but he underestimated the fierce strength that motherhood unleashed within me. Weeks became months of relentless preparation. I hired the best legal counsel money could buy, leveraging every remaining resource I possessed. My life transformed into endless meetings with attorneys, long nights pouring through paperwork and painstakingly documenting Gabriel's every move. Each day was an exhausting battle, but each small victory fueled my determination. Gabriel had started this war, but I was ready to finish it. Yet, even as I fought, the past lingered like a ghost. Liam, now bitter and vengeful, had become a shadow stalking my life. His whispers turned malicious, fueled by bitterness at having lost everything. Gossip spread viciously, branding me as unfaithful, manipulative, and deceitful. But I no longer cared about my reputation. Only Jacob mattered. One afternoon, as I prepared for court, a package arrived at my door. Hesitantly, I opened it, heart sinking when I saw familiar handwriting. Gabriel had sent another message. Yet this time, the contents stunned me. Inside were pictures of Gabriel with a woman, a beautiful young woman I recognized instantly. My closest friend, Elena. They were captured in tender embraces. Intimate moments meant to pierce my heart. Rage surged through my veins, mixing painfully with fresh betrayal. Elena had listened to my tears, comforting me even as she secretly betrayed me with Gabriel. Gabriel's note was brief but devastating. Now you understand how it feels. Tears stung my eyes. But rather than breaking me, his cruelty only hardened my resolve. If Gabriel thought he'd me emotionally, he was wrong. I would channel this fury to destroy him. Elena's betrayal added fuel to a fire already burning intensely within me. I vowed they would both face consequences for their ruthless deception. With renewed determination, I uncovered every detail of Gabriel's hidden dealings, exposing secrets he had carefully buried. The private investigator I hired finally delivered crucial information. Gabriel had been embezzling money from his clients for years, quietly amassing wealth through illegal methods. Armed with undeniable proof, I knew I held the power to end Gabriel's reign over me. The day we faced each other in court arrived, filled with a tense energy. Gabriel sat confidently beside Elena. Unaware of the trap, I meticulously prepared. As proceedings began, Gabriel's lawyer aggressively attacked my character, using my infidelity to portraying me as an unfit mother. But I remained composed, awaiting my moment. Finally, my lawyer stood calmly laying out evidence piece by damning piece. Gabriel's financial crimes, Elena's involvement, the manipulation and fraud behind his perfect facade. Gabriel's expression turned from smug confidence to shock and finally to panic. Elena visibly palled, her hands slipping from Gabriel's grasp. The courtroom erupted into whispers, scandalized yet fascinated by the explosive revelations. The judge, clearly disturbed, demanded immediate investigations into Gabriel's affairs, freezing his assets instantly. My heart swelled with bittersweet victory as Gabriel's world collapsed around him the same way he dismantled mine. He glared at me, eyes blazing with fury. But this time, I met his gaze without fear. The court adjourned, and Gabriel's storm tore me outside, face red with rage. "You think you've won, Alexis?" he hissed, fists clenched and barely restrained anger. "You'll regret crossing me." I leaned closer, my voice cold but steady. "You started this war, Gabriel. I merely finished it." His eyes widened briefly, disbelief flickering in his gaze. For the first time, he saw the fierce resolve he'd awakened in me. Gabriel turned away, defeated, the weight of his humiliation clear as he vanished through the courthouse doors. Elena trailing miserably behind him. Life slowly began to find balance again. With Gabriel disgraced and Liam out of my life for good, I focused solely on healing. Jacob became my anchor, and every decision I made from that point onward revolved around protecting and nurturing him. The damage I caused could never fully heal, but I refused to let guilt consume me any longer. Yet, the ordeal with Gabriel wasn't entirely over. Days after our courtroom confrontation, he appeared unexpectedly at my doorstep. Humbled yet defiant, He looked exhausted, visibly aged by the stress of his disgrace. "What do you want, Gabriel?" I asked sharply, holding the door protectively. His voice was softer, stripped of arrogance. "I just want a closure. I never imagined things would turn out this way." "You didn't," I replied bitterly. "You try to destroy my life. Take Jacob away. Ruin me completely." Gabriel's expression softened slightly, genuine regret seeping through his hardened exterior. "I did. I was angry, blinded by pain. But Alexis, you have to admit you betray me first." I nodded slowly, accepting the truth without protest. "I know, Gabriel, but revenge didn't ease your pain, did it? It just brought more misery." His gaze fell, shoulders slumping in quiet acknowledgement. "I lost myself," he admitted. "I thought hurting you would heal me. It didn't." In that moment, standing face to face with a man I'd once loved more than life itself, I saw clearly how far we'd both fallen. We were two broken souls, scarred by each other's choices, yet stubbornly refusing to accept the reality of our mutual destruction. Quietly, Gabriel reached into his coat, retrieving the rings I'd returned that night in Ambrosia. He held them out gently, eyes glistening with restrained tears. "Keep them, Alexis. They're yours. A reminder of better days. Despite everything, you were still my wife, and that mattered." I took the rings, emotions crashing painfully through me. Gabriel sighed, turning away before pausing one last time at the threshold. "Maybe someday we can forgive each other." I watched silently as he disappeared down the street, leaving behind a quiet, fragile hope that forgiveness was possible. Months passed and I began rebuilding my life piece by piece. Gabriel's revenge had cost us both dearly, yet had also freed me. I left my job, seeking a fresh start away from old mistakes. Jacob became my focus, laughter slowly returning to our home. Together we created new routines, finding peace in simple pleasures. Long afternoons in parks, weekend picnics, bedtime stories whispered softly beneath moonlit skies. One evening, as the sun set over the city, a letter arrived from Gabriel, surprising me. Inside was a simple note. "Jacob deserves happiness. So do you. I'm sorry." I held the note carefully, tears welling unexpectedly in my eyes. Gabriel's final act of kindness, a willingness to let go, mended a piece of my shattered heart. True redemption felt possible despite the scars we'd inflicted upon each other. My journey taught me that betrayal destroys more than trust. It destroys the very essence of who we are. Revenge had only deepened our wounds. Yet from those ashes emerged the strength to forgive myself, to nurture my son with love, and to finally accept the messy truth of being human. Life moved forward, imperfect, but beautifully hopeful. And those scars remained. I embraced the lessons learned from love lost, betrayal endured, and forgiveness offered. The pain we caused each other had nearly broken us. Yet ultimately it was forgiveness, not revenge, that gave us both freedom.